From the historic Heller Building located in Madison, New Jersey, this is Real Good News.
This is Real Good News with Lisa Allen, Tommy Nonnenmaker, Diane Kirsch, and Allen Swanson.
Welcome to this special edition of Real Good News. Today, we're stepping out of the studio, leaving behind the lights, the green screen, and digital effects to bring you a different kind of broadcast. We're coming to you from the historic Heller Building, a landmark on Main Street in Madison, New Jersey. Built in 1825, this incredible structure is celebrating its 200th anniversary this spring. In honor of this milestone, we're dedicating this episode to history, bringing you stories that highlight the rich heritage of our community. From the past to the present, we're exploring the moments and places that have shaped Madison and beyond. But first, let's get to the news. We have this exclusive footage of a small but passionate protest on Saturday, just outside of Morristown. Around 25 people gathered in front of Ford Mansion near the entrance to Morristown National Historical Park to speak out against proposed cuts to the National Park Service. The group held signs and waved to passing drivers, many of who honked in support as they passed by the demonstration that took place around noon and remained peaceful and organized throughout. Protesters say they're concerned that reductions in federal funding could impact staffing, maintenance, and programming at historic sites, including Morristown, which played a key role in the Revolutionary War. One local resident held a sign reading, "Save our rangers, save our parks," while others expressed fears that budget cuts could mean fewer educational programs for students and tourists alike. The National Park Service has not issued a comment on today's demonstration, but locals say they plan to keep raising awareness and encourage others to write their representatives. Morristown National Historical Park includes Washington's headquarters, Jockey Hollow, and Fort Nonsense, and is one of the most significant Revolutionary War sites in the country. On March 21st and 22nd, 2025, our contributing team member, Andrew Dutton, captured exclusive footage of Air Force One and Marine One operations at Morristown Municipal Airport. These videos offer a unique glimpse into the intricate logistics of presidential travel. The footage showcases the arrival and departure sequences of both aircraft, highlighting the coordination required between various agencies to ensure smooth operations. Morristown Municipal Airport has a history of accommodating presidential aircraft, serving as a strategic hub for such high-profile movements. This exclusive content not only emphasizes the airport's capabilities, but also provides the public with a rare behind-the-scenes look at the complexities involved in presidential transportation. For more exclusive video, head over to Andrew Dutton's YouTube page at the address on your screen. Morris County just marked 8 years of a program that's truly saving lives. It's called Hope One, a mobile outreach unit run by the Sheriff's Office that brings help directly to people struggling with addiction and mental health challenges. To celebrate its 8th anniversary, nearly 200 law enforcement officers and community leaders gathered at County College at Morris for a very special statewide symposium. They shared ideas and talked about how to keep building on what's working. And Hope One is definitely working. Since it launched the team, it has made more than 56,000 community contacts and trained over 11,000 people in how to use Narcan. That's the medicine that can reverse an opioid overdose. The team includes a plainclothes sheriff officer, a peer recovery specialist, and a mental health professional. They don't wait for people to ask for help. They go out into the community and bring support straight to where it's needed. And that approach is making a difference. In fact, statewide drug overdose deaths dropped by 30% last year, and they're on track to drop even more this year. Programs like Hope One and its partner initiative, Hope Hub, have been part of that progress. Together, they've helped intervene in more than 650 crisis situations in just the past 4 years. Sheriff James Gannon says the idea is simple: meet people where they're at and get them the help they need. And it's not just about Hope One anymore. New efforts like the Arrive Together program are pairing mental health professionals with police during emergencies to help de-escalate tense situations. It's all part of a growing movement in Morris County and beyond to bring compassion and practical help to people facing addiction and mental health struggles. As prosecutor Robert Carroll said this week, law enforcement can't solve these problems on their own, but when we work together, we can help give people real hope. And that's exactly what Hope One continues to do. Union County is rolling out the red carpet for young performers this summer. The county's Board of Commissioners has just announced the 2025 Summer Theater Camp Scholarship Program in partnership with the Union County Performing Arts Center and Theatrical Artists Prep. This year's production is Beetlejuice Jr., with camps for kids ages 8 to 12 and teens 13 to 18. And here's the best part: it's completely free for those selected. The scholarship covers professional training in acting, singing, dancing, and stage performance, all led by working theater professionals. Chairwoman Lourdes Leon says the goal is to nurture creativity, confidence, and self-expression while making unforgettable memories on stage. Commissioner Sergio Granados adds that the program helps break down financial barriers so every child can have access to the arts. It's all funded through the Union County Open Space, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund. Applications are open now, and the deadline to apply is Monday, April 14th. To learn more or to apply, visit ucnj.org/summer theater. If you're planning to fly in the U.S. after May 7th this year, listen up. That's when the new federal Real ID requirement kicks in. And starting on that day, you will need a Real ID or a TSA-approved alternative to board domestic flights. But there's good news. There's a convenient option you might not know about. It's called the U.S. Passport Card. Union County Clerk Joanne Rajapi is encouraging residents to consider it as an easy alternative to the Real ID. The Passport Card is a wallet-sized plastic ID that proves your U.S. citizenship and your identity. It's accepted for domestic air travel by the TSA, and it's valid for 10 years. You can also use it to enter federal buildings and for land and sea travel to Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Bermuda. It won't work for international flights, but it's a great option for anyone who doesn't want to go through the Real ID process or can't get an appointment right away. It costs $65 for adults and $50 for kids under 16. If you already have one and you just need to renew it for another 10 years, the cost is only $30. To apply, you'll need your original birth certificate or your naturalization certificate, your driver's license, and a check. With the deadline just around the corner, now's the time to take care of it. Whether you choose a Real ID or a Passport Card, make sure you're ready to fly this spring. Tax season doesn't have to be stressful, especially if you live in New Jersey. There's a new option called Direct File, and it's free, fast, and super easy to use. Direct File lets New Jersey residents file both their federal and their state taxes online directly with the government. No third-party apps and no extra fees. It's available in English and Spanish and works on your phone, tablet, or computer. If you've lived in New Jersey for all of 2024, earned all your income here, and you plan to use the same filing status for both your state and federal returns, filing takes less than 15 minutes, and there's live chat support from the IRS specialists if you need help. Plus, your information goes straight to the government, so it stays secure and private. No filing fees means more money back in your pocket. To get started, just go to directfile.irs.gov. It's one more way New Jersey is making life just a little easier during tax time. Morris County just celebrated a big win for local history. A historic preservation plaque was officially presented to the Morris Museum, recognizing the completion of the first phase of a major restoration project. The museum is located in the Twin Oaks Mansion, a 1913 Neo-Georgian revival home, that's now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Phase 1 included replacing the original slate roof, which was untouched for over 110 years, along with chimney repairs and restoring historic exterior features. This is just the beginning of a 3-phase plan to keep the Morris Museum a Smithsonian affiliate and cultural treasure, thriving for generations to come. Big news out of Union County. According to the latest U.S. Census data, Union County is the fastest growing county in all of New Jersey. Between July 2023 and July 2024, the population grew by over 12,000 people. That's a 2.08% increase, bringing the total to more than 594,000 residents. County leaders say this growth isn't just luck. It's the result of smart planning, responsible budgeting, and a strong focus on shared services. Commissioner Chair Lourdes Leon says this proves that Union County's approach is working, building a place where people want to live, work, and raise a family. One of the biggest reasons for Union County's success is its shared service model. Instead of every town paying for its own equipment or emergency services, the county helps provide resources across communities. That includes a regional 911 center that saves towns money and speeds up emergency response times. There's also a shared print shop for schools and municipal offices, and even a public works equipment sharing program. So towns don't have to buy expensive snow plows or tree trucks on their own. On the environmental side, Union County leads the way too. The county runs textile recycling programs and hosts hazardous waste and electronics disposal events, helping towns keep waste out of their landfills without running their own programs. Union County has also kept its financial health strong with the highest possible credit rating from Moody's, meaning that they can invest in infrastructure and services without raising taxes. County Manager Ed Oatman stated this week, Union County's growth shows that people believe in what the county is building: strong communities, smart services, and a better quality of life for everyone. For more on the county's programs and services, you can visit ucnj.org. Morris County is celebrating the people and partnerships driving local business growth. At the 32nd Annual Partners in Economic Development Awards held in Morristown, county leaders honored organizations making an impact on jobs, tourism, and community development. This year's Impact Award went to the Morris Museum Community Builders and the Northwest New Jersey Workforce Development Board. Commissioner Director Typhoon Sellen highlighted how Morris County has kept the tax rate flat for 6 years while still investing in public services, infrastructure, and economic development. He also pointed out lesser-known services like freight rail, maintenance for mosquito control, and library by mail for homebound residents. Looking ahead, the county is investing $900,000 in tourism and economic development, including $100,000 for America's 250th anniversary celebrations. Events will kick off this May and build momentum as the region prepares for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. For more information on Morris County's services and events, visit morriscountynj.gov. Morris County seniors are getting a tasty and healthy boost this March. In celebration of National Nutrition Month, the county partnered with Employment Horizons for a series of cooking demonstrations called A Place at the Table. The events are led by culinary students from Employment Horizons, a training program that helps individuals with disabilities gain skills for food service jobs. At the first event in Parsippany, seniors learned how to make chicken pot pie soup and peaches and cream oats, then took home recipe kits prepared by local youth. More demonstrations are coming up in Mount Olive on March 14th and Roxbury on March 21st, and there's still time to register. It's all part of the Morris County Nutrition Program, which served more than 360,000 meals last year through home deliveries, congregate meals, and weekend service. This year's theme is Food Connects Us, and in Morris County, that's exactly what's happening. And now, here is Tommy Nonamaker.
Thank you, Lisa. This week, the unthinkable happened in Chatham when the Music Man himself took ill, causing the first two performances of Chatham High School's The Music Man to be canceled. Thankfully, The show went on for the weekend performances to a standing ovation crowd. Meredith Wilson's The Music Man follows fast-talking con man Harold Hill as he poses as a boys band organizer to swindle the people of River City, Iowa. His scheme is complicated when he unexpectedly falls for Marion, the town's skeptical librarian and music teacher, whose belief in him transforms his plans and his heart. Chatham High School did this production well fitting it, with the show-stopping numbers, unforgettable characters, and heartfelt charm. Congratulations to all. Summit High School recently took center stage and, dare I say, stole the whole show. In late February, the school's production of The Prom dazzled audiences across 4 performances, each ending in a thunderous standing ovation. Yes, it was a full-blown theatrical triumph. And guess who showed up to the final sold-out performance? None other than Broadway composer and Tony Award nominee Matthew Schuyler himself. Schuyler, a Westfield High School alum, called the performance beautifully executed, adding that he was blown away. Schuyler praised everything, from the pit orchestra to the vocal performances to the costumes. In fact, he said that the production struck that elusive sweet spot between humor and heartfelt emotion. That's not easy, people. Most of us can't even strike the balance between matching socks. Now, if you're unfamiliar with The Prom, it's based on true events and follows Emma Nolan, a high school student in small-town Indiana who's banned from bringing her girlfriend to the prom. Cue a quartet of Broadway actors who descend on the town, part justice seekers, part image polishers. What unfolds is a story of love, inclusion, and a whole lot of jazz hands. But Summit's production didn't just sign on stage. Off stage, the cast, crew, and orchestra made an impact too. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, they teamed up at the Summit Community Center to handcraft corsages. Yes, corsages, raising $2,356 for the Trevor Project, which supports LGBTQ+ youth in crisis. That's what we call putting your heart where your art is. So hats off to Summit High School for not only putting on the spectacular show, but for embodying the very message of the prom: compassion, courage, and community. Bravo, Summit. Take a bow. 506 runners attended the 2025 St. Paddy's Day 5K race on Saturday, March 15th. The annual event included a post-run party with food, drinks, and a DJ. Notable top results include Chris Anderson of Morris Plains placing first with a time of 15:56.15 seconds. Madison resident Joshua Licata placed 10th overall with a time of 18:57.20. Special shout out to Chatham's own Moira Joel, who finished second in the 15 to 19-year-old female age group. Today on this special episode, we're giving a big shout out to some amazing students right here in New Jersey. 13 students from across the state were recognized last summer in the very first America's Field Trip Awards, part of the national celebration for America's 250th birthday. The contest asked students to answer one big question: what does America mean to you? Thousands of kids across the country entered, and New Jersey had some standout winners. And yes, 2 of them are from our own backyard. Let's hear it for Olivia P. from Madison and Faisal S. from Elizabeth, both named second place awardees. They'll each receive a $500 prize for their thoughtful and inspiring submissions. Also on the list is Alexander L. from Florham Park, representing Morris County with pride in the middle school category. First place winners from New Jersey will be heading to some truly unforgettable experiences, like touring the Statue of Liberty, exploring Yellowstone, or going behind the scenes across the Smithsonian Museums in Washington, D.C. The contest is part of Revolutionary New Jersey's official partnership for America 250, and it's all about helping students connect with history in meaningful ways. Lieutenant Governor Tahisha Way said she was incredibly proud of the students' stories of immigration, belonging, freedom, and community. And Carrie Fellows of Crossroads of the American Revolution added that the goal is to make history come alive, not just in the classroom, but through real-world experiences. So congrats again to our local winners and to every student who took part in this journey to reflect on what America means to them. Now it is time for you to submit your story by going to america250.org. This is your invitation to get involved in the countdown to 2026. I'm Tommy Nonamaker, and that's your look at the next generation stepping into history. Back to you, Lisa.
Next, Diane will explore the rich history of this amazing building known as the Heller Center.
I'm Diane Kirsch, and on today's special episode, we're taking a look at this remarkable building, which is celebrating its bicentennial this spring. At the time of construction, the land was still part of Chatham Township. The new church was to replace the old meeting house that was located across the street in the Hillside Cemetery. The original meeting house in Madison, completed sometime around 1751, was more than just a place of worship. It was the heart of the early community. This is where it all started, right up on this hill with Kings Road right in front of me, and where the original meeting house once stood. For the settlers, it provided a space for religious services, town meetings, and a sense of unity in an era of uncertainty. It was where they gathered for guidance, made decisions about their growing settlement, and found strength in their shared faith. To travelers passing through, the meeting house stood as a landmark of civilization on the colonial frontier, a sign of stability, faith, and the perseverance of the people who had built a life there. It symbolized not just a place of worship, but a community that was rooted in faith, resilience, and the belief in a better future. While the meeting house no longer exists, the materials from the meeting house were used to construct the new church being built across the street. The church was eventually sold to the Freemasons, who pledged to preserve and maintain the building, keeping it as true to its original structure as possible. But what about the bell? What happened to the old church bell that was once in the tower? The good news is that you can not only see the bell, but you could actually lay your hands on the bell right here in front of the Madison Presbyterian Church. The bell was removed and placed in plain sight all along. Here, this historic artifact has been keeping watch over a new congregation. The bell is still occasionally rung and is still part of this marvelous community. It just goes to show history is alive and all around us. For Real Good News, I'm Diane Kirsch.
Now let's check in with Steve Lebeckin at State Broadcast News.
Thanks, Lisa. It's great to be here. And staying with this week's theme of historical sites around New Jersey, we're taking a look at one of the oldest military bases in the state, Fort Monmouth in Monmouth County, which is about to have a new life as a movie and TV production studio. Growing up in Oceanport in Monmouth County, we lived right across the street from one of the nation's most significant military bases, but it wasn't famous for its guns or other weaponry. Fort Monmouth was for nearly 100 years the home of the U.S. Army's Signal Corps. That's the unit of the Army that's responsible for all kinds of communications, tools, and technologies. Now, Fort Monmouth closed in 2011. Its missions were dispersed to other military bases around the country. Soon, the base property will become energized once more as Netflix redevelops a large portion of the base that straddles Oceanport, Eatontown, and Tinton Falls into a major motion picture and television production studio. But at least one historian is making sure that Fort Monmouth's roots in producing some of the amazing communications technologies that we take for granted today are not forgotten. Melissa Ziobro is the Specialist Professor of Public History in the Monmouth University Department of History and Anthropology. Melissa was the last command historian at Fort Monmouth before the base closure in 2011. She's now the author of a newly published book about the history of the military base. It's called Fort Monmouth, the U.S. Army's House of Magic. You can see a link and a QR code for more information about the book on screen. Melissa is also the curator of the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music at Monmouth University. She's the current president of Oral History in the Mid-Atlantic region, and for many years she served as the editor of New Jersey Studies, an interdisciplinary journal that's a joint venture of the New Jersey Historical Commission and Rutgers and Monmouth Universities. Melissa, thanks for joining us on the broadcast. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
What is the significance, in a nutshell, of Fort Monmouth in the history of technology and science and its impact on Monmouth County in general?
The 90-plus year history of Fort Monmouth is not just military history. It impacts the way we all live our lives today, right? So, the history of Fort Monmouth from 1917 forward was about training Signal Corps soldiers, right? And later other kinds of soldiers, not to get down into the weeds, but to train soldiers for war, but also to innovate technologies that would save lives on the battlefield.
So when you talk about the base origins and you talk about the carrier pigeon service as being one of the first communications technologies, in the book you mention correspondence from a Vietnam veteran who wrote to the base and suggested that maybe they should be using carrier pigeons in Vietnam. Tell us a little bit about the origins of the pigeons and then how it got into the Vietnam era.
As I said, everyone loves the pigeons. So, pigeons being used to relay messages. This goes back to like ancient times. It's not something that, the U.S. Army Signal Corps invents, but the U.S. Army uses pigeons to relay messages very successfully in World War I, World War II, and Korea. And from the end of World War I forward, the Army's pigeon breeding and training section will be headquartered at Fort Monmouth as the home of the Signal Corps at the time. So these pigeons were known to be incredibly reliable. They have a great success rate. They are trained to fly under cover of darkness. They are trained to fly two-way missions. There are pigeons who, they would track the pigeons' service records. And there are hero pigeons who get medals. When a quote-unquote hero pigeon passed away, they were often taxidermied. There are taxidermied pigeons from Fort Monmouth living at museums around the country today. Cherami is at the Smithsonian. G.I. Joe is, I believe, at the Army Heritage and Education Center. But as I noted earlier, by 1957, the radios, the other technologies had come so far that the Army decides to do away with the pigeon service. It's a handwritten letter from a soldier deployed to Vietnam, and he's writing back to command leadership at Fort Monmouth, and he's like, listen, all of these radios and all of this other high-tech stuff you're sending us is great, but, the batteries die, or the water messes it up, or it gets sand in it, whatever the problem is. Can we just get some pigeons? Because the pigeons don't have those problems. And I love that letter because I think it's so human. I'm always looking for the human side of history. But it shows that the men in the field really knew about and trusted and respected the pigeons.
So the base closed in 2011 and is about to be transformed into a major production facility for Netflix for video and motion picture content. There are some physical features of the base that people probably wonder about. What's going to happen to them? How is the historic nature of the place going to be preserved in some way?
They've done such a tremendous job. It's a very, very difficult job, and you're never going to make everybody happy. But I think they have done such a tremendous job with the redevelopment thus far. And before Netflix even comes in, there's a lot happening on site. There are, the repurposed officers' quarters where people are living. There's the Ford Athletic Club, which is, in the footprint of Brownwoods Hall, which was the base athletic center. So they've done a great job already. And of course, Netflix is going to move in.
Fort Monmouth had a connection to popular culture. In addition, aside from all of the breakthroughs in technology and communications tools, the last piece of it is the nice synergy that you have as a curator of the Bruce Springsteen archive. And before we went on the air, you were talking about how Bruce Springsteen has a connection to Fort Monmouth. Tell us about that.
Yes. Now that I have moved into this role here at Monmouth as the curator of the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music, I've been exploring Bruce's connections to the base. They just keep presenting themselves. So he played at the fort several times over the years. I think some, viewers, listeners will know he played there, relatively recently in the 2000s because it provided a level of security that you couldn't get. If you're going to rehearse at Convention Hall, you're going to have crowds show up. If you rehearse on a secure military facility, there's a little more control over who can show up and who can stay. But interestingly, you can go back and you can find Bruce playing at the fort as a teenager. So at the Teen Club, I believe at Gibbs Hall, it's something that I'm currently exploring right now. On the Born in the USA album cover, what is in Bruce's back pocket?
I'd have to look at the cover.
A lot of times you ask people that, and they will say a red bandana. The Born in the USA album cover, 40 years old, comes out in 1984. It's Bruce. We're looking at his behind. A lot of people will say that, no, it was a bandana. It's actually a red hat. Well, years ago, somebody just, brought this up. Fred Carl from InfoAge has mentioned this. Other people have mentioned it to me, like back when I was the Fort Monmouth historian. Hey, do you know that hat is from Fort Monmouth? And I'd say, oh, really? Oh, where's the proof? Historians always want proof. I've never really seen proof of this. The archives here actually has access to the hat. It's actually in an exhibit we're doing right now called Music America. So anyway, this hat, you look at it, it's a red hat. It's in his back pocket on the album cover, but he wears it a lot during the Born in the USA days. He's wearing it in the Glory Days music video. And it says REMBASS on it, REMBASS. REMBASS was a project at Fort Monmouth, remotely monitored battlefield sensor system. This is a hat that RCA, the contractor, made and gave out to folks who were working on the team. Not only did Bruce play at the fort many times over decades, from his teen years through the heights of his stardom, in his back pocket on the Born in the USA album cover is a hat that is directly tied to this Fort Monmouth project.
If you want to see my complete interview with Melissa Ziobro about Fort Monmouth, you can just scan the QR code on the screen or visit bit.ly/SBNZIOBRO. And of course, you can see all of our news reports at statebroadcastnews.com. I'll be back with more stories soon. I'm Steve Lubetkin, State Broadcast News. Lisa, back to you.
And finally, here's our very own Allen Swanson.
I've been fortunate. I've been able to climb up to the top of this building and see just how it was constructed 200 years ago. It's amazing. I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to climb a ladder to the top of this building and look closely at the construction of this historic building.
Pretty cool up there.
The impression you get when you visit this structure is absolute astonishment that the structure is 200 years old. You have to be impressed when you think about the people who conceived of this structure and created what we see today, 200 years later. At the time, they couldn't know that what they were creating would represent one of the best examples of sustainable use of materials and construction techniques you can encounter. Unlike today, it was necessity that made the builders of this structure use sustainable building materials and techniques. The builders of this structure used proven sustainable construction techniques used for centuries. When you look at the beams in the attic, it's hard to believe they were constructed by hand using hand tools. The size of the beams makes it hard to imagine that they were limited in the size to what they could move by horse and people power. Even more impressive is the fact that they did not use nails. Not that nails weren't invented. Back then, they were just very expensive. When you enter the upper reaches of the structure, you can see the heavy beams held together through mortise or holes, and tenon or protrusions, and wooden pegs. There is a group responsible for the excellent conditions of this structure, and those are the people that constructed it. The second group responsible for the excellent condition are the Freemasons who purchased it from the Presbyterians in 1930. They made significant renovations in the interior of the building, but very little to the exterior. The Masons also negotiated and sold the building to the town, taking far less than what they could have received had they put this building on the open market. Another group of people we need to acknowledge when looking at this structure are the leaders and the members of the community who recognize the importance of maintaining it as a reminder of the founders of our communities. These people include Morris County and Madison leadership and Martin Heller. Mr. Heller has stated that he's always been impressed by this building, and as a result, he made a sizable contribution in remembrance of his wife and son. Mr. Heller has expressed his commitment to allowing the community to benefit from the use of this building for many years to come. As for those years to come, the town is planning on using the building for a number of purposes. The primary function will be as a senior center. Renovations will include preparing the structure to last for many more years, making it fully accessible, making it fully electric, and certified as green and sustainable through the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design program, the LEED program. There is so much more to say about this building, its history, and its future. In May, Madison is planning on celebrating the 200-year history of this building. And whether you attend the celebration or not, now when you drive down Main Street, you can look at this structure and know it is one of the oldest buildings in the area, and it has been sustained by the workmanship of the builders from 1825, the great care from the Masons, and the commitment of the Borough of Madison to maintain it up to the green standards we need today and in the future. Who knows what this building will look like in 200 years or what the street will look like in 200 years. But we know the actions taken here today and planned for the future give this structure a good chance of making it to 400 years. Let's hope. Thank you for watching. I'm Allen Swanson.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the outdoor format at this beautiful historical building. We plan to bring you more themed episodes, but for now, we will see you back at our studio on March 31st. Happy 200th birthday to this amazing structure. I'm Lisa Allen, reminding you that real good news is always worth sharing.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the presenters and contributors. While we support a diversity of perspectives, they may not reflect the views of the entire team. We encourage open dialogue and welcome differing viewpoints. Real Good News is produced by Mortonveld Productions. For Real Good News, I'm Diane Kirsch.